Dante, the narrator, the pilgrim, says, I now begin to hear arising wails of sorrow. I have come where the great cries batter me like a wave pounding the shore. We're in Canto 5, by the way, of the Inferno. It is a place where all light is struck dumb, moaning as when high winds from east and west wrestle upon the sea in a fierce storm. That hellish cyclone that can never rest snatches the spirits up in its driving whirl, whisks them about and beats and buffets them. And when they fall before the ruined slope, and then the shrieking, the laments, the cries, then they hurl curses at the power of God. So this is, obviously no fun. And they are, they're being buffeted by wind. They're being racked up against the crags, and they're and even though they don't have bodies, they throughout this poem they will feel pain. So here is what then Francesca has to say about her own damnation. She says, "O living spirit, courteous and good, traveling the black night to visit us, who left the world dyed purple with our blood. Were he who rules the universe our friend, we would entreat him, praying for your peace, for you have pitied us, our twisted fate." This is an interesting thing about Dante the Pilgrim, is that he has a lot of compassion for a lot of these sinners, and in fact identifies with a lot of them. When he meets Brunetto Latini, his teacher, whom he has in hell for sodomy, although that's not something that, there's no evidence of this outside the poem, but he's telling us that Latini had sex with men, right? When he meets him, there's this incredible outpouring of feeling and grief and pity for the pain of the damned, which also translates, of course, into Dante's own sort of identification, right? Because he knows he can be lustful, right? He can be overwhelmed by physical desire as well, and so they respond to him, in kind. They're grateful to see him. Where the Po rushes with all its tributaries down to its sea harbor, that it may have peace in that place lies the town where I was born. Love, that flames soonest in the gentle heart, seized him for that sweet body which was snatched from me. And how it happened hurts me still. Love, which allows no loved one not to love, seized me with such a strong delight in him that as you see it will not leave me yet. Love led us to one death. The realm of Cain waits for the man who quenched us of our lives. So her husband killed them when he found them in the act. That he's consigned to another to a lower circle of hell for violence, but she is buffeted about because of her love, the love which stays with her, and to which she sort of sings a hymn that you could almost imagine coming from Dante's earlier poetry. And so now you see what I'm getting at here, right? Francesca is, in some sense, all that he fears in himself, or at least all that he fears he may have led others into, because in a second we'll find that she was also reading, right? She's a reader, and the ideas of romantic love, the romance of adultery that she found, especially in the tales of Lancelot and Guinevere, are going to be what have led her into this eternal torment of always being in sort of unsatisfied desire. She says, "There is no greater grief than to recall a time of happiness while plunged in misery, as your teacher knows. But if so great a longing urges you to know about the first root of our love, then I will tell you, speaking through my tears, one day we two were reading for delight about how love had mastered Lancelot. We were alone and innocent and felt no cause to fear. And as we read, at times we went pale as we caught each other's glance, but we were conquered by one point alone. For when we read that the much longed for smile accepted such a gentle lover's kiss, this man, whom nothing will divide from me, trembled to place his lips upon my mouth. A pander was that author and his book. That day we did not read another page. And all the while one spirit told their tale. The other wept so sadly that I fell, for pity of it, to a death-like faint, and I dropped like a body stricken dead." Very dramatic, and it is something that's going to happen multiple times to Dante, that he's going to lose consciousness in some way or another. And here, the pity of it, but also I suspect his implication in it, right? This is somebody who has taken seriously the kinds of poetry that Dante has been inspired by, right? I mentioned the courtly love poetry. Lancelot and Guinevere is directly kind of mentioned here. And this is the danger, right, of falling too much in love with love as a merely human thing, right? Without subordinating it to the higher laws of heaven. And so by leaving that behind here in this kind of relatively early stage of hell, Dante is now compelled onto some exploration of how this, thing that can go so terribly astray, that can be so fleshified, so eroticized in the worst way, how that can be redeemed.